Greetings! I am Fire Lotus, and welcome to and/or welcome back to another live Witches Chat. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell icon so you can get all the notifications, especially when I go live. So, what is up? Hello, I am Fire Lotus. I've been doing these for about 3 years now total, which is crazy. I've been on I've been on YouTube for almost actually 5 years now. More mind blowing. Now I took yesterday off because of the pressure systems that we have, and if you keep following me, and if you've been following me for a while, you know that the pressure systems that we have here in Florida really do fuck me up sometimes. Hello. And I was talking to my partner yesterday. I don't know what it is, but here recently, the pressure systems that I've been moving in have been insane. Um, and that's going to kind of lead us into our next conversation. For the people that have anxiety disorders, no, I'm not saying what I'm about to talk about is a premonition in any way, shape, or form, but I like asking questions. So, yesterday, and basically, we're going to talk a little bit about dreams and currently some other things that are happening right now. So, if y'all did not know, I do have a Discord. You can find it in the link tree. Bubbers, please stop. Thank you. He is pissed off right now because our Dollar General has not had wet cat food, and he loves wet cat food, so he's been having to eat dry cat food. So he's a little bitchy today. But anyways, dreams. They're very interesting. Specifically recently. So in the Discord, yes, definitely. In the Discord, I've had a few people in the past 2 days like ask if people have been having like crazy dreams, specifically around natural disasters or some type of tragedy. Yes, it was. I also asked TikTok this morning because yesterday, so the way that I am with my disabilities and everything like that, depending on how much I do throughout the morning, because every morning I'm up between anywhere from 5 up until 6 to 7. That's the earliest I get up, and I spend normally about 8 o'clock is when I actually start doing my daily routine. And in the process of that, I wind up laying down, depending on how much I do or depending on how I'm feeling, around 2 or 3 o'clock sometimes. Well, I did that yesterday, and the dreams that I had, I was not expecting, which was basically, so if you've seen, mine is a dang volcano and a huge ass tsunami. I've seen that with the tsunami a lot recently. Mine though was creepy because normally if I go to sleep midday, that's when my subconscious taps into all my anxiety. So like normally I have kind of crazy dreams if I remember them. Never had a dream like this before. So y'all have seen the front of my house, y'all have seen the lake view that I have. I walked outside for some reason because I like heard a weird noise. And directly in front of me, I look over and I see probably about the size of a baseball, as I saw it a little bit bigger than that, and it was like a shooting star, and then it landed. I saw the like explosion go up, and then the shockwave hit me, and as like it kind of like hit me to the point where it kind of good morning, where it kind of like knocked me on my ass. So I get up from that, and as I look up, I see this giant ass meteorite go soaring through the sky. My exact moment in that thought was like, oh my god, how am I gonna get to my partner? But it landed, and when it landed, it made a huge explosion. And at this point, I'm trying to tell myself, like, this has to be a dream. Wake the fuck up. Wake the fuck up. And right before I woke up, the first wave of it hit, threw me against the house, and I picked myself up and I woke up. Now, I did actually look up the meaning of that, and it's actually, believe it or not, if you have dreams of asteroids and or meteorites, they're actually a good omen. Depending on how you read that, because there were multiple readings to that. But it basically means that like you just went through some shit and now it's kind of clearing up. Um, but it freaked me out because like I've had 3 other dreams that have actually came true, not involving meteorites, but they did come true involving natural disasters. And that's what they don't talk about not even being a witch, but having prophetic dreams. You never know what's real and what's not real. So I went to TikTok and I was like, yo, astrology people, what the fuck is going on right now? Because we currently right now until I think April 28th, we do not have a single planet in retrograde. So for the rest of this month, March and April. Yes, I'm not having dreams lately, but I can't even really sleep well lately. Hold on. Stop running in front of the camera. Thank you. It's just weird because like if we get into why we have dreams, the reason we have dreams is because it's your subconscious and conscious's way of talking with each other and basically working through either the day before or that day's emotion of, basically it's our bodies processing the world around us. But with psychic abilities, I believe that little point in our brains activate and it kind of creates images that are from the future. So like everybody normally dreams, unless you don't hit the dream cycle. And if you are a heavy smoker like me, on weed, marijuana, Delta 8, that can actually affect you from not dreaming. Because if you partake before you actually lay down and go to sleep, what winds up happening is, depending on the strain, you actually completely bypass the dream cycle. So you just go straight into a deep sleep. I haven't had a dream of a natural disaster recently, but a tragedy, yes. I've had a dream that one of my ex-boyfriends tried me up and threw me. Oh my god. I'm so sorry. Hopefully that does not happen. So what I gathered from the astrology people is, yes, true enough, we do not have any retrogrades right now. But what a lot of people don't talk about is there is a shadow period of that retrograde. Basically, it's kind of like a whiplash from the energy going like this. So now it's kind of going like that. So we are still feeling that, and that's normally a 2-week period, and I believe that's happening with 2 planets right now. But it's actually, besides we are coming up on the full moon, also I'm kind of talking about my services really quick. The 17th or the 16th is the last day to get it with me for this month's honey jar. The 16th is the cutoff date, and the full moon on the 17th will be when it's created. So you still have time to get up with me, but we're moving into the full moon. Now, what a lot of people also did not notice and or talk about, it is a very new term to me, and I'm still doing research, but apparently last month, as in actually last month and the first of this month, I haven't had dreams. Oh, there we go. Remember the videos like 10 years back about Yellowstone's volcano things? Oh, and yes, I do. There are talks about that. Hopefully, though, it's not that. But we just experienced what is known as a black moon. Now, this is I've never even heard that term before, but basically what it is, and depending on how you look at the moon cycles, so we have a blue moon. A blue moon is when there are 2 full moons in 1 lunar cycle. So basically 2 full moons in 1 month. Thus, that's also where the saying comes from. Is that blue moon? Is that a blue moon or is it a new moon? It's either 2 full moons or 2 new moons in the same lunar month. That's also where the saying came from, because it's supposed to be rare, which is once, every day, once in a blue moon. But the moon that we had at the end of January, and due to how the time of the new moon was, it was kind of in between. That was actually considered a black moon, which is basically 2 new moons in the same lunar cycle. We're going to be experiencing, I think there are 2 months that's going to happen with our moon cycles. We're also going to be, I believe, having some eclipses this year. Let me check really quick. I think we are. And of course, this particular book does not have what I'm looking in it. It does not. All right. But yeah, I'll double check on that. 2 full moon. There we go. 2 full moons is a blue moon, and 2 moons is a black moon. There's another this year, I believe, in April. Ooh, I gotta check that one out, because that's my birthday month. But besides that, we've been having a full lunar cycle of spring, too. Oh, yes. I cannot wait. Because when we have eclipses here, even if I can't see them, there was actually one when we had the blood moon eclipse, the full moon eclipse. I actually did get to see that, and I collected some of the lake water, which is what I'll be doing with this one as well. I realized I did not silence my phone. Okay, nothing important. So the sun, we've been having a lot of shit go on with the sun recently, and I think that's also causing some of the dreams that we're having right now. Now, I do believe something big is coming. Specifically because I'm a Floridian, I am not looking forward to this hurricane season because they're already telling people that we may actually be seeing these storms come way earlier than we expected. And Florida did not get the memo about it being spring for 6 more weeks or winter for 6 more weeks because things are already waking up here. We're still in chillier temperatures, but still. Um, and it's blowing my mind of how many people are syncing up with these dreams, but they're all different. So and the reason this is interesting to me without like causing any panic is also we are going into Pluto's first return in the United States. And as much as I disagree with half the videos on TikTok because it's kind of just fear mongering, last night before last, I think it was last night, me and my partner sit down because we started this newer tradition where like we'll have music in the background and we'll just sit in here in the kitchen and just kind of catch up. Um, but I looked into the history of Pluto's first return, and oh my God, it is not just with the United States. Like there are multiple other times throughout history that this has happened. And there was a lot of revelations with that. That's the best way that I can word that without getting like too political. Um April 30th, the next black moon, partial solar eclipse over South America, full lunar eclipse for us, May 16th, partial solar eclipse October the 25th over Europe, and a total lunar eclipse November the 8th for us again. Oh, thank you so much. Seriously, thank you. I'm also working on trying to find a platform that I can download these and audio correct them. I mean, basically take out the audio and add it to a podcast, which is the reason I started reading the comments out loud. But like, can we talk about how much this stupid pettiness shit with the internet right now is going on? So, and this is also for anybody who does make content, a ways to like post your videos all over the place as well. I was using a website for like TikTok watermark removals. They no longer work. So I actually had to download the app that works with TikTok to remove the watermarks just so I can re-upload my videos. But in the process of that, YouTube has also fixed it to where it is really bad. YouTube's fixed it to where some of their videos, they can't be like downloaded. And it pisses me off, which here recently, if everything plays out the way that it's supposed to be, I hopefully will be getting my laptop fixed very soon. When that happens, this will change, as in I'll be able to do more things at once. Because see, when I first started these, I had my extra phone or my computer right beside me, so I could also look things up and actually like read articles and shit like that I'm talking about. Well, the cat fell as it was asleep onto the charger port or onto the laptop and it shifted, so the charger port slightly broke. So like the computer works, I just have to fix that one port, and an opportunity may be presenting itself very soon to where I may be able to get that up and running. And if I get my computer fixed, these are going to be 10 times easier. Plus, the app that I use to create my podcast, and for anybody who's looking into it, Anchor, it's a really good site because not only is it an app, you get paid for posting podcasts. What I mean by that is by every, I think it's 1,000 plays, you get like $15. I'm at like 27 right now. So it's something to think about. But they have it now to where you can automatically just copy paste a link video and it'll extract the audio form. So now I've got to find an app that I can do that with the YouTube videos. And then I reached out to 2 people to see if we can set dates for next month, or the rest of this month, so I can get some podcast episodes going out. It's this year has been crazy, so in a good way for me. It's a very, very, because this year is also my first Saturn's return. So instead of a Pluto return, I'm getting my first Saturn return. And for anybody who has not turned 26, 27, 28, and 29, and or 30 to 31, be prepared. Everybody goes through it. You can find a calculator for it on the webs. to where all you have to do is type in your birthday and it'll actually tell you when you're going through them. Ooh, thank you. Let me write this down. I got to take notes really quick, but thank you. Bring it back up. There we go. E-O-P-R-O-C. Sweet, thank you. But yeah, this Saturn returns are very weird because it's like, it's not really bad nor good. It's kind of one of those in-between matters. Okay, thank you so much. But yeah, look into Saturn's return because it's going to be a very interesting one. Now a new talk. Do I really want to bring this up? So I'm planning a few videos. I don't know when this is going to be. But I'm going to be planning a couple of videos, and they're going to be slightly different from the ones that I normally do because they're actually... I'm hoping mine's going to be unpreventful. But from the readings I'm getting and the readings that I've got of this year, it's going to be an interesting year. But I'm going to make some videos here soon. I'm hoping within the next 2 weeks because they're going to be multiple parts, short, like 10-minute videos of basic beginner tips on and resources on like what to do, where to go, where. Because I'm getting to the point now with my content, like, for one, I'm also going to start focusing on YouTube versus TikToks. But we've reached that point with the witchy content where we're all kind of saying the same thing. Like, what now? What do we do now? Besides fucking arguing. That's a huge thing that people just love to do is argue. Like recently, on my second account and my first account, I had to upload a video because I noticed about 3 or 4 months ago, the interest in the honey jar services that I provide kind of dropped, and I could never figure out why. I figured out why. A bunch of people, without doing research in the history of honey jars and honey being used in magic, basically stated that for anybody doing them that is outside of hoodoo, you're basically culture appropriating. But you're not, because, and I read it and literally did a video with the history in it, honey jars were used in Southern folk magic and Southern conjure, which means honey jars in general are open for everybody. Now, with that being stated, if you were to ever get your hands on an actual true hoodoo book, and you were to completely take it from there, that may go around the realms of culture appropriating. But with my jars, I don't just add honey and other ingredients. I also manufacture it. I work it to where it is also manifesting the desires that is in there. Not to mention multiple cultures throughout history, ancient Egypt, Greece, there's like 4 or 5 other ones also used honey in their practice. And this is the issue that I'm having, is because people are saying these terms, and then how the internet works, a lot of people are jumping on board with it without actually doing full research. Now with that, I cannot express this enough. If you were doing research with the occult, with metaphysical, and or witchcraft, do not use Google. You are going to get some half-assed, half-baked article that has nothing to do with what you're actually trying to look up. Use DuckDuckGo. Use Bing. I personally love DuckDuckGo, just in general. I do like Bing, but they're also changing a little bit. There's Ask Jeeves. Now, there are some Google Docs that you can use, but just use Google in it itself, no. It's horrible, and I had someone comment on a video, well, Google says that's the reason you don't use Google, is because Google is very, very manipulated by money. Now with that though, a lot of people are like, all right, well, now that I do research, what do I do with it? You cross-reference it. You cross-reference that, and you also cross-reference that. Witchcraft is not an exact science. I really wish it was sometimes, but it's not. It depends on, now with that, they're like, well, what do I research? Find a single path or a single branch out of the huge ass umbrella terms that we use, and research that. Research the founding of it. Research the history of it. Research how it became modern day or how it became, you know, pop culture, whatever the terms are. Research it into that. And then you will get to a point to where there's no more researching depending on what you're looking for. When I use Google, I go to page 8 or more. Yes, now that is a thing too. If you do use Google, like that commenter said, just go to like the 8th or 10th page, because that's where the information is going to be versus all the page that paid in, so their page will show up first when you Google search. Now there is a there is a app that I'm going to check out, and I think it's Moon or Witchy Academy, where you can actually do free classes. I'm going to check it out before I actually preach it. Astrology-wise, Astromatrix, hand down, an amazing app. Very easy to work through. Now, if you do download Astromatrix and you set up an account... Okay, hello, Jess. But if you download Astromatrix, go into the settings and find the GPS thing and make sure that is on. And the reason that is so it's more accurate with the actual degrees of the planets and the sun and stuff, where your actual location is. And I know this because I actually talked to the creator on Instagram multiple times, and she also told me to do the same thing. But that app, as long as you do not hyper fixate on it, where like if you get a phrase that's going to be like, well, you're going to have a rough day today, don't hyper focus on that. Use it as a challenge of proving them wrong. But that app is amazing. What you have on one page, now the only thing you will need for this, and you can do it without this information, but it's more accurate with it, your exact time of birth. You can find that on your birth certificate and or ask a parent. But it does have a section to where you can just pick your birthday versus the actual time. What that'll do is basically it'll generalize a natal chart and or birth chart for you, but the information is still going to be accurate. And then what you do, and what it's going to do is every day, you can also pick the time, every day you're going to get a notification, and that notification is basically going to be a full in-depth horoscope specifically for you. It's amazing. You can find so many things. They have tarot card of the day, saying of the day. You get updates with where the moon's going to be, when eclipses are, how those are going to affect you. It's got a retrograde calendar. So many other things are built into that too with one app that's free. I've been using it for almost 3-4 years now, and I still use it daily. So that's a great one to do that with. Now, research-wise, pick what you're going to do and then kind of research that. And then once you're very familiar with that, like the history of it, you know, the creators of it, then you kind of start branching outward. The key is to not get overwhelmed. Now, the one reason I do tell people that I would do the whole Wiccan thing, which is a year and a day, it gives you an entire year and a day to figure out what you're going to research on. And if you like more organization, find everything that you're going to do and spend 1 month researching 1 to 2 subjects, depending on how you do, and only those. Now, with that, you also have YouTube videos out now. You have podcasts out now. I'm not even going to say TikTok because, yes, there are some amazing videos on there, but you're not going to learn enough in 30 minutes to 60 seconds. There are Patreon blogs. There are a lot of Patreon that you don't have to necessarily pay for. I understand supporting all our witches, but not all of us can do that. So there's those. Like I said, podcasts. You can never go wrong with podcasts. There are books. And with that, if you do get a book, I know this one has it somewhere. Okay. Use the big boy. Really, really good thing. If you get a book from a store and it's on witchcraft and or historical witchcraft, okay, the one thing you will need to be looking for at either the bottom of the page, I like it better if it's at the bottom of the page, but it'll also be in the back, which is references. This right here Those right there are references to the information he is regarding in this book. Why do you need references? For one, you're going to have a list now of other books and stuff that you can research and deep dive into. Now, eventually you are going to get to a point where there are no resources. That's okay too. If you have a question, and I actually personally do this myself, if you have a question about a specific thing revolving witchcraft and or a spiritual path, and you've heard that it is closed, go to or try to find somebody of that culture and of that path and ask them. Just straight up send them a message if you can and say, hey, not being disrespectful, trying to do research, does this fall under the terms is cultural appropriation? And if they say, yes, it does, you can still research it. Why? Because that way, if it gets brought back up, you have enough information to be able to educate somebody else. It's the same thing with some of my old roommates who used to wear my pentagrams. Before I would allow them to wear it, I would educate them enough to know if somebody came up to them and were like, oh, you're a Satan worshiper, they would be like, no, and here's some facts for you. So therefore, by the person who thought they were a Satan worshiper, by the time they left, they were also educated. So it breaks that cycle of miseducation being spread. Now, with that, I also know it's not that easy. Specifically, here recently, a great topic. Somebody did a video and it's like, I don't understand why everybody's so confused about the whole sage, white sage thing. It's because you have a huge population of the natives saying that it is closed only for them. And on the exact same side, you also have the same people also saying, no, it's for everybody. So there is confusion right there. There are going to be moments and times where you yourself are just going to have to go on your own personal moral compass. Another great thing that I wanted to talk about as well with ancestor work. Do you have to do it? No, you do not. Is it cool? Yes, because you get a lot. Trust me, you get a lot of things. Especially Southerners cooking. You already know what I mean. We season until our ancestors tell us enough. But with that, though, for one, you do not have to start with your OG ancestors. Like, you do not have to go 100 to 1,000 years into your bloodline. You can literally start with, say, you had 3 people that recently passed away, and you actually knew them. You may not be able to contact them just yet, because there is a such thing as a spiritual transition, to where it does take time for that spirit itself to transition over, but you can work with them. What happens if they're Christian? A lot of people disagree with what I'm about to say, but that's okay. If you feel like they would not approve of it, then don't try contacting them. If you have ancestors that they were just bitches and mean people, all you have to say is this person and this person you do not want contact with, they will not come through whatsoever. And eventually you'll figure out like which way to go with the ancestor work. Ancestor work can be many things. It can be just setting up a space. No, you do not have to have real candles on your ancestor candle. You can totally get the LED lights, and every time you light that LED light, you are remembering them. You can eat with them. You can dedicate food to them. So many things go with ancestry. Yes, breaking of cycles and stuff like that, that is going to be a part of it, but you yourself will figure that out along the way. Now, recently a question that was asked, and I love it, was, can you do something to the point where it pisses your ancestors to the point where they would just completely cut contact? Yes. I work with exactly one ancestor. There's too many problematic ones. The one that I work with keeps away. Oh, that is awesome. And same. There are a couple of family members that I'm just like, yeah, nope, nope, don't come near me. No, 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 no. And family drama, oh my God, just because they are dead does not mean there is no family drama. That's not talked about enough. I've had ancestors bitch and complain about the other ancestor. I've also had them argue. But with that also being said, it also is going to bring you closer to your ancestors. So, like, especially, like, if you have a family cookbook or if you have a couple of recipes that you used to cook with your family members, that's a great way of honoring them because you're literally redoing the things that they were doing. Sit down and talk about all the amazing things happening. Trust me, a lot of interesting things has happened since I started working with my ancestors. And now with that, can you do something to make your ancestors walk away? Yes, you can. It depends on the ancestors and it depends on what you do. I've done multiple different types of working where I've asked them to bless it and they basically either said one to two things. I ain't touching that with a 10-foot pole, and or if you lie down with dogs, you're going to wake up with fleas. If you know that saying, you know what that means. That's basically a southern saying, bless your heart, you did this, you gonna fucking deal with your shit. You gonna deal with your consequences. I've had 2 ancestors completely walk away because they did not agree with a couple of things I was doing, and, you know, that's life. With that, do your ancestors, do they have to be blood relatives? No, they do not. Because depending on how you were raised, most of my family, that we are not blood related, but they were more family to me than half my blood family was. So that's anything that you consider a family, anything like that. Now, with that being said, another interesting question, and I was not expecting the response that I've seen, which is, can your ancestors also be your spirit guides? Yes and no. It's complicated, depending on what you believe. My personal belief is when I die, or kind of the way that I believe, once I reach that with my craft, not karma when I say this, but once I reach the heightened state, and I pass over, I will go to the Summerlands. If you don't know what the Summerlands are, I think it's a Wiccan thing. I'm not for sure, but it's basically a place that witch spirits go. I personally believe we kind of go there and just kind of chill out, you know, hang out with one another, and then until we're reincarnated. But with that being said, I believe that we do have a choice. I do believe we have a choice if we want to be reincarnated or not. But in my belief, you get to a point to where you won't be reincarnated. So that's like a complete cycle. When that happens, I personally believe that if I have any other ancestors from my bloodline and or from any of my bloodlines that's connected to my family, if it is seen that they will become a practitioner and they call for assist, I believe that I will come down and be their spirit guide or kind of spiritual mentor and walk them through the steps. Now, I fully understand a lot of people will not agree with that, and that's perfectly okay. That's my own personal belief, and that's one belief that since I started my practice hasn't really changed. A lot others have. Like, I get so envious sometimes of the witches who, like, when you ask them what they fully believe, they can name everything down. I'm not like that. My beliefs are being constructed as I go because they change all the time. But yeah, that's what I believe with the whole ancestors. And it's so easy to talk to your ancestors, but it takes time. That's why I want to change the name to it because it sounds like some weird 90s scam, the 30-day spiritual challenge. But literally for 30 days, sit aside 5 to 10 minutes, longer, shorter, depending on your life. I normally do this in the morning time with tea, and sometimes I do it at night with my wine, where I'll sit down or stand up, whatever, and just straight up talk to my ancestors like I'm talking to y'all now. And over time, what this is doing is you're figuring out a way to communicate with one another. So like some people are visual versus also it kind of depends on your ability to receive messages and stuff like that. And over time, you'll get there. With me, the very first thing was I had random scents that would follow me around, and I connected those with ancestors. And now it's just, it's almost just like it's the claircognizance that comes through with me, where I'll just randomly say without thinking, it'll just kind of word vomit. It's like, oh, grandma's here, or nanny's here. Or when I'm with his partner, I'm like, yo, your mom's here. Like, I normally, at first, when I first said that, I was like, do I say this? And he's the one that's helped me get to the point where I have randomly told people, yo, your ancestors are here. I don't know what they want, but they're here. They're like, you pissed them off, or, you know, they're rooting for you. And I've also had ancestors come through readings before. That one's very weird because the main time it happened, I was using phrases that I don't really use. That's like not even part of my vocabulary. And it's really cool. And then another thing, if you do not want to work with deities, I know a lot of people are like, wait, well, that's not witchcraft. Yes, it is. Okay. There's nothing wrong with working with deities. There's nothing wrong with working with or being a pagan. But at the same time, you don't have to at all. There's nothing wrong with being a Christian witch. If you want to be a Christian witch, be a Christian witch. If you just want to be a witch like I am, be a witch. What does that mean? With me, I worked with my ancestors. I'm a death wish. All these other labels, but at the end of the day, I'm not set to anybody. start incorporating land spirits. Now, with land spirits, you're gonna have to show respect. They're not like your ancestors. They're not like deities. You will show them respect. The whole full Southern thing, like in order to get respect, you got to show respect first. Yeah, you got to show them respect first. Some will be extremely easy. Others will be more complex. Now, what I like to do with this, is Spirited Away. I love that movie so much. And yes, if y'all have not realized, I'm obsessed with that culture and their beliefs with when it comes to the spiritual realm. If you've seen Spirited Away, think of your land spirits as some of the spirits in there. You know how you had the very, very friendly ones and then you had the just grumpy ones? It's exactly like that. They're going to look different. When I say land spirits, I myself have not fully come to the definition of what I think a spirit is, a land spirit is. A lot of belief, and because I do live here in Florida and they were very anybody in the United States, there's natives on this land. So it could be that, or it could just be a spirit that really is not human, but also has like consciousness to it. And land spirits you can have so many benefits to working with your land spirits. If you're a gardener, start talking to them about helping with your property. Like when we do our, what I'm going to call is like the final reaping to our yard, when we actually get everything cut, I'm going to do that in a ritualistic way. As in kind of not, here's your sacrifice, but hey, I'm doing this to your land. And then just leave offerings. Those offerings can be anything. You don't have to go with the traditional like alcohol, tobacco, stuff like that. It can be anything. But also think of this. They're land spirits. So if you were to give them an offering that would to better their land, I believe they're going to love that. Like dedicate an entire small section to them in your garden. Dedicate a plant to them. You can do this also with your ancestors. Have an ancestral garden where literally you try to find all the plants that your ancestors loved and plant those and dedicate them after one another. Another way of being a witchy person without anybody obviously knowing that it's a witchy person. I mean, a witchy garden. That is perfect though. Ask them to bless it. There's so many things you can do with land spirits. Land spirits can come in animal forms. They can also teach you about your own land. They can teach you where powerful spots are on your property of energy. I've heard of stories where they've helped people find a well that the well experts could not find. And then also, when you go to other places, try to work with their spirits too. Now, again, this is going to be a process of showing respect. If there's a place in your town that you've extremely been drawn to without trespassing, we don't need to go to jail or get arrested. Leave a small offering, introduce yourself, and just say that you're very connected and see if you can connect with that. Tiptoe Chick, if you're not already following her, please follow her YouTube. She's no longer here, rest in peace. She's here with us in spirit, but some of her videos that she still has up, they are amazing. She has one where she did that exact same thing. I believe it's still up. There was this huge oak tree that was in her neighborhood, and she wanted to do it. She was very drawn to it. She actually did connect with it, and she had an amazing spirit. She had amazing experience with that. But yeah, go look at Tiptoe Chick's videos, because even as advanced as I am now, I hate saying that, I still go back and rewatch her videos. She was an amazing practitioner. Oh, she was amazing. And I actually realized recently that's where I think this has come from too, me doing this. I was extremely inspired by her. She was an amazing practitioner. But we all get there. And then with that, I also re-uploaded another video. Make some of your tools. If you have pokeweed in your yard, collect the root. Let it dry out naturally, or you can pop it in the oven on low temperature for like an hour. Dehydrate them, dry them out. They're really, really great for protection. These can also be hollowed out and made into beads. On top of that, you can also use the berries. Be very careful. No kids around, no animals around, because it is toxic. There are easy walkthrough tutorials here on YouTube about how to make pokeberry ink. And with that, with most homemade herbal tincture, not tinctures, ink, it will mold. Some of it will mold at the top. It's perfectly okay because you're not digesting it or anything like that, but scrape some of that off, throw it outside, reseal it, boom. Use some of the sticks and stones on your property to make your wand, to make your staff. It doesn't have to be pretty or aesthetic. Or make your own aesthetic. I do. I wish I would have had the piece that I showed in the video. And then on top of that, start making your own correspondences. And listen to this, though. Biodiversity, not biodiversity, bioregalism, there we go. Research some of the herbs and stuff like that to your house, right? So when you do magic, and a lot of people don't realize this, we can all be very unique and distinctive with our magic, but you can use plants, not even herbs, you can use plants that people all around the world have never used before in their practice. There's a reason we have as many correspondences to herbs as we do now. The same thing happened. Somebody looked at an herb and they're like, you know what? This reminds me of that. Boom. Now, with that being said, there is a book that is on my wish list, and as soon as I get it, I'm breaking that entire book down for everybody and making a shit ton of videos because they have an entire section of spicy herbs. Basically, herbs that we use in our everyday practice, like lavender, rosemary, stuff like that. But it's the spicier side. It's the exact opposite of those meanings that can be used in Baneful Magic. And now, with Baneful Magic, always remember, you don't always gotta hex or curse or jinx them. And if you do, it doesn't have to be negative. We've all had that one person, the more you do nicer things for them, the more it upsets them. I love that. But, do a Retribution spell. Now, a lot of these spells are not going to be actual titled Retribution. A lot of them are titled Karma spells. But basically, the point of a Retribution spell is if I were to sling out a hex or a curse one time, do you remember what the name of that book is called? Bones of something. I think it's a Blood and Bones. It's a newer one and everybody's talking about it online. I want to say something of Blood and Bone. It's a black and red book. After this, though, if I don't get the title to it, I'll, when this goes live, as in live on my profile, I will post it in the comments. I'm going to message you with my invoice oil I'm making today. I'm going to use it. Okay, sweet. Ooh, I'm interested in that. What was I saying? Books. Baneful. There we go. Retribution spells. Instead of doing one spell to where it's either a slap in the wrist or a slap in the face, do a retribution spell. Work a spell to where that person or an incident will happen over and over and over and over and over until the person learns his or their lesson. See what I mean? So instead of just doing one slap on the face, make it to where they'll never do what they did to you to anyone else. And trust me, those spells are amazing. There's one that you can find on, if you go to llewellyns.com and scroll down, and they have the Spell a Day Almanac that they also release every day on their site. They also do it on their Twitter. But go to the search bar and type in Hecate Justice Bar or Justice Spell. That's a really good spell too, because you're not doing anything except for giving an offering and lighting candles to Hecate. And basically, you sit down and just fully explain everything about that situation, and you put it in the hands of the goddess to figure out how justice needs to be served. There's another one, too. Let me see if I can find it. If I can find the one that's in this book, I will either make a video or post it, because this little book right here, which is Silver Spells for Protection, Silver Ravenwolf, this little cute little book, it's got some spicy ass shit in it, and I was not prepared for some of the spiciness in this book. It's also just a really great book to have. But yeah, as soon as I get that book, I'm going to do some detailed videos. And then, like I said, hopefully within the next 2 weeks, I should be able to get the carrying oil that I need. And once I get that carrying oil, I'm going to be doing videos on how I make some of the oils that I use. Also, another great YouTuber who has a shit ton of videos out, especially on magical oils and stuff like that with recipes, is Lady Grave Dancer. I love her. I love her practice because it is very similar to me, as in it's it's a lot. There's a lot of things involved in it. I love her style, and eventually we will be collaborating together with me going on one of her lives and then her being featured in one of my podcast episodes. I got to get up with her on that one. But yeah, there definitely is that. And with that, the oil recipes that I upload, you can totally copy. The only thing I ask you to do is to add something to it. Slightly tweak it or change it a little bit. And then the last thing I'll talk about really quick. Am I going to show this? Yeah, because I don't think I have the other one in here, do I? No, I do not. Okay, so I don't have the original journal with me, but say you have a journal like this. Now, by the way, y'all should feel impressed because this is my actual first Book of Shadows. I'm not really gonna. There we go. Wait. Okay, there we go. So, see how it's like the pages and stuff are written in it, right? It's kind of boring. The next time you're at Dollar General and tell somebody you want a present or something like that, Dollar General, their oil paints and specifically their watercolors, fairly affordable. They're really good quality for the price. But with the watercolors, you can paint all of these, completely paint over everything. And the way that it dries, you can also rewrite on it. So it's a great way to add spice or just a splash of color to these. And then not to mention, if you do this and you do mess up as you're writing down in it after it fully dries, you can just paint over it. But it's a great way to like add a little extra to your spell book, because I no longer really keep a grimoire like this. And I'll show y'all a couple of pages just because, trust me, this book's got a lot of shed on it. I'll say that. It has a lot of my energy in it, put it that way. But I used to like keep very detailed. This was also made for me. And it has like the basic correspondences. Now how I am is I'm primarily just making a kind of a recipe book of all my oils, my sigils, and all of that. Which that's, I no longer use this, but I still use spells out of it. My other book, one of my friends, Jason, sent me. But yeah, add spice to it. In the Book of Shadows, technically, you're supposed to have multiple ones. You're supposed to have a book of spells, right? Spells and rituals. You're supposed to have a journal of you doing spells and rituals. That way, if it goes wrong, you can go back and reformulate it. And then just a journal and or a diary of your journey in itself. That way, in a year from now, 2 years from now, you can look back and reread over it. Now, I actually have a journal that I've been working on since, not a Book of Shadows, an actual journal, that I've been working on since, actually I can tell you, because I got it the same year this book was. Come on. It's in here somewhere. Is it not? Oh, I guess it's not. I want to say... Shit. I was 16 to 17 when I got it. And I'm still currently writing in it. And it's like one of the big, thick-ass leather ones. But yeah, journaling's a great thing to do. Even if you have chicken scratch handwriting like me, journal. Journal when you can. And if you have problems with just kind of sitting down and reading or writing your thoughts, act like you're writing to one of your ancestors. That's also another way to communicate with your ancestors, is through a journal. Have a journal specifically dedicated to them. Not to mention, if you want to do any type of shadow work or healing work, there you go. Another idea, keep a shadow work journey journal. What I mean by that, not where you're actually writing what you're doing in your shadow work, but if you have shadow work that revolves a person, write them that letter that they never received. Tell them the words, say the words that you want to say to them, that it just never happened. Do that. And then if you have to, burn it shortly after that. Remember, fire helps us release things, and it can also breathe life into things as well. It's one of the reasons I love fire. Lava, I love it. It's destructive, but it also creates life and land right after that. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. Thank y'all so much for everybody who has joined in, commented, shared, thank y'all so much. Like I said, I'm going to start focusing more on these videos and on these lives. There will be a couple of lives that will randomly pop up a little bit later in the day, like at nighttime, mid-evening. So please make sure your notifications are turned on. If you ever have a question or anything like that, feel free to hit me up on any of the platforms that I have on. Instagram, you can slide into the Discord, Instagram, Facebook. My messages are always open. My inboxes are always open, except for TikTok. With TikTok, because they're stupid, unless we are mutually following each other, you can only send me up to like 3 messages. And normally if somebody does that, I'll follow them back so I can talk to them. But if you hit me up on my Facebook page or my Instagram, normally you'll get a faster response through those two because I can actually see the notification versus what TikTok does. So yeah, and if you're interested in any of my readings or anything like that, check out my shorts. How do I have your Discord? Oh, just click the link tree that, you can find on my profile. Click that, and I think it's the second or third link that says Lotus Hollow. Slide on in. We love having new people there. And by the way, with that being said, if you do recently join the Discord, please know this. We all have social anxiety. All of us, including me. You're not going to say anything stupid. There's nothing you could say that, like, obviously, as long as you're not disrespectful, there's no such thing as a stupid question. We have practitioners that kind of a little bit of everything. And if we don't, we'll pull resources together to try to help, like, send you in the right direction. It is an amazing community. It's so open. There's so many different types of subcategories. We got books. What are you reading? What are your talents? What are your hobbies, like, outside of witchcraft? Witchcraft, spirituality, paranormal incidences. We have a curse and hex one. We have an 18 plus, where primarily like sex magic, a couple of adult memes. There's a lot of great things in there. But yeah, you can find all of that as well through the thing, link tree. Now, my Facebook link does not work because Facebook is retarded. But if you just go to Facebook and type in Fire Lotus the Witch, it'll pull me right up. All my services are there. And if you stick around after I get off of going live, I'm about to update a short where I break down my prices and I break down how my services are in this short little video. So yeah, until then, I love you all. You are all loved. Welcome to the community. And yeah, I will see y'all all tomorrow. Peace.